Diane Paquette in for Bob Murphy. Welcome to Maritime Noon. Today on the phone-in, demand for public transit is increasing across the Maritimes, but the logistics can be challenging.
Their morning shift does not end where their car is parked to get to their afternoon shift, so drivers have been relying on informal group chats to use each other's cars to get to their afternoon shifts because transit isn't reliable enough to get bus drivers to work on time.
What's public transit like in your area? That's coming up on Maritime Noon. But first, as we're hearing in the news, a powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake rocked Southeast Asia today. The quake caused buildings to topple in Myanmar. The death toll is still being determined. In Bangkok, Thailand, a skyscraper under construction collapsed. The destruction was witnessed by Greg Bishop, who's from Halifax. He spoke with the CBC's Vernon Ramsar about seeing the tragedy unfold.
Greg, can you tell us where you are exactly right now?
I'm in the north part of Bangkok. Right at this time, I'm staying in that part of the city.
No, I gather you were having a pretty uneventful, although perhaps interesting vacation while you were there. And then today you felt the effects of the Myanmar earthquake, I understand. Where were you when you felt the first trembles?
Well, that's the scary part. I was on one of the trains. In Bangkok, they have two transportation systems, one called MRT, which is basically underground subway, and then there's another one called the Sky Train, which is above ground, and it goes through the city. And I was on the Sky Train coming out from the city to a market here, one of the biggest markets in Thailand called Chatuchak. And I was going to do some shopping there, but I felt the train, it's going through the city and it's swaying back and forth from side to side. And I thought, oh, this is an earthquake. I knew what it was like because I'd been in a couple in Taiwan when I worked there. And nobody seemed to mind when they were on the train until they stopped the train. And then everybody was wondering what was going on. Then we went to the final stop, and they ushered us all off the train immediately and said, "Get out."
And what did you do after that?
Well, I kind of stood around thinking, all right, this might just be a temporary thing. I mean, the earth wasn't shaking drastically over here. I think it appeared to be a 4.9 in Bangkok, but a little further north, next to Chiang Rai, they felt the full impact of the quake. And I went to the MRT station and to Chatuchak Market. There were people there, and they were not allowed to go into the subway system. Everybody was coming out. They stopped all the trains to get everybody off the train safely. This was around 1:30 this afternoon, and I just finally got back to my apartment, my condo, at 7:30 tonight. So it was quite a hike. You could not get a taxi. You could not get a motorbike taxi. No subways were working. I felt so sorry. There were thousands of people in the street just wandering, thinking, how am I going to come? This is such a huge city.
And even though it wasn't as intense as it was in Myanmar or Burma, I understand there was a building collapse in Bangkok?
Yes, yeah, that was huge. There was a 30-story building, which was right next to Chatuchak Market, and there were reports just now. I just checked, and there were 81 people trapped, three fatalities in it. But yeah, it's a 30-story building, and the whole thing just went right into the ground.
Were you nearby when that happened?
Yes, sir. I was about 2 blocks away. It was a little scary. Yeah, we didn't know what it was. We thought, maybe something had fallen off a construction site because there are several in Bangkok. And, the people, it didn't affect everybody standing at the MRT station directly, but you could see it. And some people thought it was a fire. Some people thought it was just something that had fallen off the construction. We had no idea that an entire building came down.
All right, well, Greg, try and stay safe, and I gather you're coming back home on Monday?
Yes, I always said that Bangkok is a city where you really know you're alive, and today proved it.
All right. So. Greg, thank you very much for speaking with us.
You're welcome, Vern. Nice to talk to you.
Greg Bishop is from Halifax. and he spoke there with the CBC's Vernon Ramsar. From Bangkok, Thailand today, Bishop experienced the earthquake in the region. Stay tuned to CBC Radio, television, and online for updates on the earthquake in Southeast Asia today.